If you're new to my channel, I'm Dr. Mariane. I'm an integrative pharmacist and I share simple science-backed ways to heal from the inside out, focusing on your gut health, hormones, supplements, and clean living so that you can enjoy vibrant health, glowing skin, and long-term longevity. Now, today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to make dairy kefir with real dairy kefir grains. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts for grains, and that includes that question about whether you can use metal tools. We're going to discuss the science-backed benefits of kefir and also how to preserve the grains when you travel. So stick around until the end. Now, for those who have never tried milk kefir, it's actually a fermented drink. It's made by adding kefir grains to milk. So these grains are basically the symbiotic community of lactic acid bacteria and yeast. And then typically you add that to milk, or you add milk to it, and then it ferments at room temperature in about 24 to 48 hours. And as a result, you get this probiotic rich drink that tastes a little sour, similar to yogurt. Now, you can buy them at the store, but I prefer making my own kefir at home because most of the store-bought versions are usually loaded with added sugars and unnecessary additives. And then, of course, the cost can really add up over time. My son really loves this too. You can, make it for your kids. I usually blend it with blueberries and greens for him. It tastes really, really great. And it's very healthy, and he drinks that every morning. You can also make popsicles out of it. So maybe blend some fruits, not too many fruits because you don't want it to over ferment either. But you can also blend it with some fruits and also freeze it. Now let's briefly discuss some of the benefits of kefir. So it does have antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory activity because of this, diverse community of bacteria and yeast. And it is better than taking probiotic supplements because, as many of you know, supplements are not all created equally. It's much better to actually get your probiotics naturally from fermented foods than to get them from supplements. Again, they're not all created equally. They're not all high quality. They're not all third-party tested. So it's really hard to tell how much strain is actually really in that probiotic as well. Okay, there's many things I can get into, but we won't get into it on this video. But again, always better to get your probiotics from natural sources instead. Now, when you compare this to yogurt, for example, one of the main differences is that yes, yogurt does have probiotics, but this also has yeast. So it has this greater diversity of probiotics. So let's get started. Okay, first you're going to need a mason jar. Okay. You'll need a stainless steel or a plastic strainer. And yes, a high quality stainless steel strainer is fine. Now, traditionally, the advice was actually to avoid metal contact with the grains. And that's because back in the days, I guess the tools were made from reactive metals like aluminum, copper, and iron. And those can actually react with the acidic kefir, and they can leach ions into the milk, and that can alter the pH of the beverage, and also possibly the flavor, and it can also damage the grains. Okay, but it's totally fine to use stainless steel as long as it's stainless steel, whether it's a spoon or the mesh. Okay, because that's non-reactive. And the important thing too is to note that you can only use the stainless steel for short contact. So a strainer or a spoon, but never use stainless steel to actually store them. Always use glass. Okay. And you can use, what else can you use? You can use plastic spoon. You can use a wooden spoon, totally fine. Or again, a stainless steel spoon is fine. I usually just always use this silicone, I guess, spoon. All right. The other thing you need is milk. You need whole milk, and you need your glass bottle, or plastic is fine, but I like to use glass. Let's talk about the milk for a moment too, because you need to use whole milk, like 1 or 2% cow milk. You never want to use skim milk, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But you can also use pasteurized or raw milk. But you need to avoid any ultra pasteurized milk. And that's because the milk needs to have lactose, okay? It can't be lactose free, and that's because the grains, they feed off of the lactose or the sugar during that fermentation process. So that's their source of nourishment. Now, for those who find cow milk hard to digest, you can try goat milk. Many people can tolerate it more because it's a different protein structure and it naturally contains lower lactose content after fermentation. So for those with lactose intolerance, they may be able to tolerate it better. What you do want to avoid though is lactose-free milk, because the bacteria, they need the natural carbohydrates. Okay, so you need to have whole milk, for example. You also need to avoid, coconut milk, because that has no lactose. Now, if you can't tolerate cow or goat milk and you'd like to try it maybe with coconut milk, what I suggest you do is try adding to the coconut milk a little bit of sugar, like 1 to 2 teaspoons, or you can do a tablespoon of dairy milk, just to give the grains a source of nourishment. You can also try a little bit of maple syrup or cane sugar if you want. The other thing you need to avoid is any skim milk, and that's because the grains, they not only thrive on the lactose, but they also need that extra fat, okay? Ultra processed milk, you also want to avoid that because it's over processed, and that high heat that's usually used during pasteurization, it can usually denature the milk proteins and the enzymes that the kefir grains really need to produce that high quality probiotic rich kefir. Okay, now what else? I'm trying to remember if there was something else. Let's just start here to make the kefir, and my thoughts will come naturally. Okay, so the temperature is really will determine how long it's going to take for them to ferment. So cooler climates may take a little bit longer, maybe 24 to 48 hours. But if you live in a warm climate like here, like South Florida, you may only need to ferment it for about 8 to 10 hours, okay? Because it's warmer, they'll ferment faster. So the longer it ferments though, the more sour the taste is gonna be. So it really all depends. Like my son likes it a little bit soury, so I'll let it usually ferment for about 48 hours. So you can test and see what you prefer, for example. Okay, so this is my batch really that was fermenting overnight. This was fermenting for about 24 hours. So you just want to mix it really well to sort of get the grains out. Sometimes they'll stick at the bottom of the jar. And you pour it in the strainer. Okay, so all that milk is coming down, and I'm gonna end up with the grains at the top once I empty this whole jar in here, okay? So this is the fermented milk that was fermenting overnight. And this milk here that's draining into the measuring cup is actually the milk that you're gonna drink, okay? But you'll let it sit in the fridge. I usually suggest letting it sit in the fridge for a couple of hours, just because, you know, it tastes better. And then you can either make a drink with it, make popsicles with it, or just drink it like that. Okay, so this is the milk down here, and these are my grains. I'm gonna try to bring them a little bit closer to the camera so you can see what they look like. Now, in warmer climates, they're gonna look a little bit mushier, but in cooler climates, they will be fluffier and kind of look like cottage cheese. So depending on where you live, depending on the climate, they may look a little bit different, okay? But do you see? This is what the grains look like, okay? Now, these are the grains, these same grains. You're gonna take them and you're gonna put them in the mason jar. And then we're gonna add milk to that. Now, normally, I usually add about, I'd say a cup of milk to a teaspoon of grains, but you can kind of experiment with it. And I normally do about 2 of these every day because my whole family likes to drink it. So I'll usually separate the grains into 2 separate mason jars. But here's the milk in here. Now I like to cover it just so nothing gets in it. You could cover it with, you know, a stainless steel cover if you want, or a plastic cover, as long as it doesn't come in contact with the milk or the grains during storage. So you always want it to be in something that's non-reactive, like this glass jar. But I just put a little, whatever, Kleenex over it and just with an elastic and just make it nice and simple. And I usually will store that on the side, or I'll store it like, you know, in a cabinet. You never want to store it anywhere near a window. So always, you know, away from the sun, preferably in a dark area, if possible. And that's it. And now you've got your milk here. You basically pour it in. And you just store that in the fridge for a couple of hours and do whatever you want with it. And now this here is what you're going to be drinking. This is the fermented milk. Now, if you're going to be traveling for, you know, a short trip, if you're going on a short trip, maybe up to 1 to 2 weeks, you can submerge the grains in about 2 to 3 cups of milk in a jar like this, like a mason jar, and like cover it with a lid. Remember that the more milk, the more food they're going to have during your trip, okay, until you get back. And then when you return from your trip, you just need to strain them like we just did right now, but you need to do about 1 to 3 refresh cycles just to basically reactivate the grains, all right? If you're going on a longer trip, like more than 2 weeks, you want to dehydrate them. So you rinse them really well first, and then you dry them at room temperature, or until, you know, they're fully dry. I would usually put them on like a paper towel or something like that. And then what you want to do is you want to add a little bit of milk powder to the grains, and you put them in the fridge, and they're okay to stay in the fridge for up to 6 months. And then you would have to reactivate them when you return with several refreshes again, just to reactivate those grains. The other option is to freeze them. Many people will actually freeze the grains. So what they'll do is they'll just coat them with a little bit of dry milk powder for a few months. They will lose a little bit of their activity, and then you would have to just thaw them back out again with the milk, and then again do several cycles to reactivate them again. Now, if you'd like to make your own homemade kefir, I've included the link to purchase the kefir grains in the description below. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you found this helpful, please give it a like, leave a comment, and share it with others. It really helps more people discover my channel, and it supports my mission. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so that you don't miss out on future tips to help you feel and look your best. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, and as always, keep healing to thrive.